let me introduce you to David, who we know because we've been supporting you for quite a long time. And we always love to hear from you. So just for anyone who doesn't know, quick introduction to yourself before we get into the Q&A time. So tell us anything that you think we should know about you.
Hi everyone, my name is David. I live...
You're not a David?
David. Thank you. Okay, let's say I'm Dávid Hamar. And I live near Budapest, not far from Budapest, north of Buda, and I am leading pastor, or senior pastor of a church in the downtown of Budapest. I've been pastoring this church for 15 years now. And we have 3 children. One of them is just moved to Labrie for probably 3 terms. So he's in England, that's his first.
These guys might not know what Labrie is.
Okay, so anyway, he's in England.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most important part.
It's the kind of Christian commune.
Christian community and
Hampshire.
Yeah, this is a big thing for us because he's 19, my daughter is 17, and my little daughter is 11.
Brilliant. What have you been doing over the last few years?
Okay. About 2 years ago, I understood that my pastoral role was over, and in the last year and a half, I was working on finding a new pastor who will follow me and who will lead the church. And I found him, and I will step down in the 2nd of November after 15 years of pastoring this particular church and being a pastor for 20 years. And it's a major change because I won't be a pastor anymore. So it's a kind of career change within the church, which is absolutely new to me. I try to learn how to process this thing in my life, in our life.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask a couple of questions to kick them off, but please be starting to build questions in your mind. I have a question that I did warn Adam about. At the beginning of your talk, Adam, you mentioned homosexuality, autism, and narcissism, kind of in the same category. And probably for us who are a bit more instantly judgmental, we were like, "Well, is he saying autism is a sinful thing, or is it symbolic of something?" And it would probably just be good to clarify that, because a couple of people asked me that question. So.
Yeah, I certainly didn't want to imply that autism is a sin. Dora, my wife, one of her expertise is autism. She helps autistic kids. So I definitely didn't want to say autism is a sin. I just wanted to point out as an interesting fun fact, not so funny, but a fact.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, that our culture, I mean, these are 3 outstanding phenomena, psychological phenomena, that there is an increase in the number of autistic kids, at least in our perception, definitely there is, which is a selfism in some sense, and a self-absorbed way of living, and narcissistic personality disorder is, I mean, there are tons of books written on that, published recently, and we know an increase of the problem of those kinds of people around us, and homosexuality, that doesn't need an explanation. So I just wanted to point out that here are the 3 psychological phenomena. And it's interesting that those phenomena are at an age that is characterized by expressive individualism, and at a time when self-expression is the main value.
That's good. Did anyone want clarity on that point? Go for a shout, and we'll see how we get on. As in, shout it out. Yeah. Okay. Did you catch all that?
Yeah. Yes. I'm not an expert in this, so I don't. It would be probably fruitless if I went deeper into this and I don't claim to know the cause-effect relationship, not even that there is one. I don't claim that there is one. I just think it's interesting. It's symbolic. Symbolizes whether accidentally or whether there is a cause and effect relationship there. It symbolizes, those things symbolize an age.
Would it also be true that Christian culture, so even a lot of people being Christians and influencing culture, would make us more orderly in terms of family life, but also it's really the basis for social skills, sociability? Would that be true? And mental stability?
I would suspect that there is a relationship there. I don't claim to know how it works. I didn't claim to know. I just I wanted to point out this is an interesting phenomenon.
Brilliant. David, you have spent quite a lot of time thinking about engaging with culture. I was only laughing because I was going to say a crass thing. What was your conclusion from that?
Okay. We had a conversation, so it's a kind of made-up question, but he knows what I know. So I planted this church as a church which is attached very strongly to the cultural engagement movement, and it was planted 15 years ago, and we really wanted to go and follow the ministry of Timothy Keller. And at the time, I could see that Agora in Budapest was one of those churches, very few churches, which was considered by the non-believers as a nice one, as a good one, as an interesting one, which they found exciting, that they could come in and they could engage, they could come have a conversation. Every church service, we end up with little groups where we have apologetic questions and we talk about, and every opinion is open. And about 3 years ago, I understood and I detected that there is a change in the culture. I couldn't really understand what was it, but I started to see that something is wrong, something is not working anymore. And we, as a very admired church, we became a church of a bunch of fascists. We became a church of fundamentalists, racists, and backwarded people. Not because we changed at all. We didn't change. We haven't changed. The culture around us became different. So I started to think that how should we respond to that we cannot be modern, or we cannot be admired anymore. And if we go with the culture, we will lose our apologetic edge. We will lose our character. And at this time, about 2 or 3 years ago, I came across with an article of Aaron Wren. I'm not sure if you have ever read it. This guy from the USA, he said that there is a cultural shift, and he divided up the culture into 3 different time frame. There was a time when it was the positive culture, when the non-believers regarded and considered the Christianity as something positive. And there was the neutral culture, neutral world, when the non-believers thought that Christianity is one of those ideas. Let's figure it out. That was the time of Timothy Keller. And his point of view is, Aaron Wren's point of view, that we enter to the negative world, when people think that we are just, we are not lovable because we are Christians. We are hateable. We are weirdos. We cannot be admired all. We should be diminished. We should be shot on the neck. And he said that when cultural engagement is losing its edge, then there is a new season when the Christianity has to react as counterculture. So we started to think in our church that probably we are in an era when we have to kind of strengthen the counterculture part of the church instead of trying to engage the way how we try to engage in the last couple of decades. Is it an answer to you?
Yeah.
Do you
It's
have a
close.
follow? Close.
It's close. I think what you're saying very articulately.
Yeah.
I'm just playing it back
Yeah,
for
yeah,
my
yeah.
benefit, if nothing else. That the time for a kind of comfortable apologetics, where you're having nice chats with people and engaging about ideas, is obviously, we're generalizing, is diminishing. The time for bold declaration is in.
Yeah, I would say that. The cultural engagement is still important. We just have to understand that, at least in Hungary, I don't know if it is true in England. In Hungary, we have coming out pastors. We have pastors who were Catholic pastors, Protestant pastors, and now they had a coming out. Or we have transgender pastors. And when we want to culturally engage, the culture already they have chosen. You're right. They have chosen these people as expertise of Christianity. They don't want to talk to us at all. So in the past 15 years ago, Timothy Keller was invited. Now the transgender pastor is invited. It really begs the question that what way we should culturally get engaged. It's very hard. So Aaron Rand's answer is that we haven't really figured this out yet.
Okay.
We need some more time to understand that how we have to engage. But the boldness is probably one of the answers.
And yet, in the UK, younger people are coming back to religion.
Yes.
Not necessarily our church, but Catholic, Orthodox, Pentecostal, along with witchcraft,
Yes.
crystals, and anything else.
Yes.
So there is kind of interesting tides. I don't know if Adam wants to comment on that. Keep going. And then after that, it will be questions for you guys, after this answer, I promise. It's got to be good.
Yes, about 15 years ago, I was taught in Oxford when I studied apologetics, or from Timothy Keller, that we need to understand the young people. They have questions, and we need to engage. Now I think that the new generation, which is not the Y generation, that they grew up, and they are mothers and fathers, but the Z generation, Z or Z?
Z.
Thank you very much. So the Z generation.
You're on the wrong side of the Atlantic for saying Z.
Okay, they are different. They are not that much postmodern as the former or previous generations. They are when you open up the TikTok, you find their dogmatic people with dogmas, with very strong views, with activist, strong statements. So I think that many times when I see young people being drawn to the church, the reason that they are drawn by not the evangelicals, but the Protestant, Reformed Protestant, or many times by the Catholics,
Yes.
because they are much more open about their truth. They have the big church, they have their mass, they talk about the things that they believe, the same way they did in the last 10 years, the last 100 years, the last 500 years. We try to be culturally sensitive. The Catholics, haven't changed. They are the same, always the same. And they found answers. So the young people, according to my view, right now, they want strong answers. They want to be persuaded or convinced.
Yeah.
Because they are lost so much that they want to understand what's the truth. This is probably the reason behind the phenomenon of Charlie Kirk's success. Or was this a good sentence?
The last word didn't.
No. So
Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Success.
Success. I couldn't work out whether it was
for a purpose. It's not.
I'm not doing it on purpose. I really didn't hear the word. I'm only moving forward just so I can see people because it's very bright back there. Questions? I'll leave you just for a second, Aaron, just in case there's some others going, and then we'll come back round to you. Yeah. Jasmine. Okay, when was it dangerous to be a Christian? You thinking perhaps particularly in their country? Yes. Yeah. Okay, when was it dangerous to be a Christian? What was it like for it to be dangerous to be a Christian?
Well, in my country, it was quite dangerous to be a Christian in the 1950s, 60s. Those were the hardest years or decades of the communist regime. So many Christians were taken to prison, were tortured, were deported or hanged, killed.
Did I understand right about Richard Wurmbrand?
Yeah.
That he was, well indeed, but that he was incarcerated underground for a period?
So he was imprisoned for 14 years.
Yeah.
Out of the 14, 3 years he was in solitary confinement under 9 meters under the ground level. So his only companion for 3 years was, for some months, a spider. That was all the company he had, because even the prison guards walked on, they put something on their shoes that would silence their walk. And the only other time that he met anyone was when a guard came in to beat him. So that was the social contact that he had for 3 years.
What did he do for food and toilet?
I don't know that aspect.
Yeah.
But he,
Carry on with Hungary.
there's one, just about him. He wrote a book which is called Speeches, something like Speeches from the Prison Cell. During those 3 years, he spent his time thinking up sermons and remembering those sermons. And that is a collection of those sermons, or some of those sermons that he remembered and wrote down after he was freed. And those are, I mean, gut-wrenching, powerful sermons, very disturbing ones, some of them. He preached to the angels, and he said, now you have to listen to the voice of the underground church whose voice no one hears. But that was in Romania. The Romanian communist regime was tough and tougher for a long time than the Hungarian one. But the Hungarian communist regime in the 50s was especially very, very hard. But even in the 60s, they hanged people for their convictions. So I think that was the most dangerous time, but the difference between that and the decades after is that at that time everything was black and white. It was clear. You knew as a Christian you could not join the Communist Party. My grandfather, when he became a Christian in 1948, and at that time he was a member of the Social Democratic Party, which then was forced to fuse with the Communist Party, so he suddenly found himself a member of the Communist Party, and as a Christian. And so he went to his boss and said, I have to leave the party. So his boss said, okay, you'll lose your job and everything. So he said, so he gathered together the workers of the company and publicly humiliated him. And then he said, would you like to say something? And he said, yes, I would like to pray, read something from the Bible, and sing. So he did all three things. And then he was sacked, lost his job, and they lived in utter poverty. So it was clear that if you are a Christian, you can't be a member of the Communist Party, an atheistic party. And we knew everything was the opposite. So what was taught as truth, we knew was a lie. We learned to read under or in between the lines. But it softened up by the 80s, 1980s. You could still get in trouble in the 80s if you spoke your Christian faith. The Christian student movement was started in the 1980s in Hungary, but they were not allowed to gather as a Christian student movement, so they always celebrated someone's birthday. That was the occasion. So there were lots of birthday parties and lots of weddings. So those were occasions when you could speak freely. So it was still a little bit dangerous if you were too open, too bold, too public.
Just related to that, sorry, just to build on your question, the fantasy world of 1984, which is obviously kind of a parable for certain ways of governments operating, the terrible world that you lived in the communist and communist-influenced countries is clearly bad, and black and white bad in a way. Why do you think our culture has parallels with that? Because that's history, interesting history, but it's not what's happening now. Yeah. We're not in communist Britain. Yeah. So is there parallels?
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that it was like that here. I think 1984 is certainly a vision taken to its extremes. But it shows the real face behind the influence that I think has infiltrated your culture. When you learn Marxism, we had to learn Marxism at school. I had to learn the definition of religion at philosophy class. Religion is the distorted reflection on the world, and many other things. So when you internalize Marxism, then you smell it. You smell it elsewhere. You are aware of it. It triggers you. You recognize the spirit of it. And remember, Marx said, a spirit is rampant in Europe. And you just recognize that same spirit. And so many times when I read, when I watch the woke movement, I smell Marxism. I smell the same spirit. So the comparison is not you are in 1984 or no, that's not my point. My point was be aware. There is a spirit here.
Very helpful. Yes, Ian.
Can I just ask that, I think your analysis has been fascinating and really helpful, but I would consider that the rise of populism in the West is significant, and there are those who would wrap themselves in the veneer of Christianity, where if you actually dig deep into their background and their policies, they would be very counter to what I would think would be Christian. How do we live counterculturally in a political environment, certainly in this country, that is polarizing, but there is a real growth, I think, in populism?
I think I'm walking on thin ice here, and I don't want to go too deep into politics because we might have different understandings of what really is happening in governance in the culture. But what I would say is two things. One, I think much of what is called populism is a reaction to the separation or the chasm that has been built between the masses of people and the elite, the progressive elite. So if you think of what the word populist means, it's for the people, by the people. What was the third one that Lincoln said? So you could argue for that populist is actually a very positive phenomenon. You could make a case for that. But I'm just saying, I think it's a reaction to the chasm that has been there between the elite and the masses of people. And but the other reaction I want to make is that I think we as Christians have to be, and when I say Christians, evangelical Christians, we have to make a distinction between believing in the gospel, being disciples of Jesus Christ, living in a world which is antagonistic to God in 1,000 ways, be genuine, faithful witnesses of Christ, living pure, holy lives in the midst of a depraved generation. And so making a distinction between that and the cultural impact of Christianity. And I think the second thing is a real thing in history. It's bad that it's going away. Trying to work against that decay is a good thing. I think in various ways Christians can be engaged in that work, but we should not lose the fact that it's not the same. Being a salt and the impact of the salt are two different things. I don't know if my answer makes any sense.
From a conversation I had also related to this, we had the Unite for the Kingdom March last Saturday, which I think was the one that you mentioned for Amazing Grace, or it might have been the Charlie Kirk vision, but I think it was the one.
The big one. There
would be, between maybe 150,000, possibly even 1 million people. If you look at the aerial photos, it's more than 150,000. But anyway, there were Christians definitely on that march, Christians I know on that march, and lots of others who got interviewed. And there were people who would be, by any definition, racist on that march, and lots of people in between, disenchanted people. There was Christian songs, not just Amazing Grace, played. There were Christian pastors, and there were other people. How do you navigate that kind of cultural soup, which you can't say, I love this because it's Christian, but you can't say, I hate everything about it because it's not anti-Christian.
Yep.
So give us the perfect answer to navigate that.
Okay, first, and then I let you, David, also add your thoughts to it. So first, one of the tactics of the communists was to attack their enemies or oppositions with what they do. So they called Christians hateful people, fascists, Nazi, all kinds of things. So we are kind of used to that. We are immunized against that. We know we were name called. We are not really moved that much by those accusations. So, and we don't believe them. That's probably more important. So when I hear that crowd was, I don't know, so I'm speaking as a partly ignorant person on that, just my impressions.
You'll be all right. No, you're not going to offend.
So when I hear that, I automatically disbelieve those accusations. Yeah. That's my default. By default, I don't believe them because I've seen it. I've heard it so many times. Those accusations, and that doesn't mean there aren't any in the crowd who are like that. But just generally, I have a suspicion that that's not true. Otherwise, I think we Christians can have, so there are various Christian traditions, theological church traditions, that think that it is wrong to be engaged in public discourse, politics, changing society or making efforts for that. There are Anabaptistic traditions within the evangelical movement, pietistic traditions within the evangelical movement. So there are many evangelicals whose gut reaction is that it's just wrong to be a part of any kind of movement that is not clearly Christian. But you can see it from another perspective too, where Christians as a salt and light can have a pacifying effect. They can influence social trends in a good way that would prevent things to go extreme, that would really pacify the crowd. So, for example, in 1956, when we had our uprising, there were Christians who were elected to be committee leaders. So there was social chaos, so they created small local governments, revolutionary governments, during those 2 weeks when the uprising was going on. And many of those Christians protected the communist leaders. So when they people wanted to take revenge on the horrible things that those communist people did, Christians were the ones often who protected them, protected their lives. So you can be a part of it in a way that you would be salt and light and not disengaging from social movements, but be a good.
Yeah. It was interesting about the truth, non-truth. There was a lot of debate about the numbers. So initially, the BBC was reporting tens of thousands, eventually grudgingly got to 100,000. Probably it was closer to 1 million by all normal statistical measurements of aerial photographs.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. Premier Christian Radio, they had a journalist there. He's an ex-Liberal Democrat, so politically a long way away from kind of where any of the people on the march would be. And he had a headline which said, you know, Christian journalist gets beaten up. He got beaten up by a couple of drunks who were like on the periphery of it, when you read the actual account. And it sought to characterize the whole march. I'm not being a defender for the march, I'm just being a defender for the truth and the proportionate truth about, you know, a couple of drunk idiots, and they didn't even beat him up. They just sort of attempted to beat him up, and he ran away, and it was fine.
Well, we know exactly what that tactic is about. We've experienced that. I've been to...
But we don't have an agenda. We don't have a communist regime who've got an agenda, do we?
I think it's the same spirit.
Okay. I'm just being provocative on purpose, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say, Ian, to come back on that. Yes.
Was a convicted criminal with a very clear agenda. And we were talking about this in the community group, but it's really hard as a Christian to know where you position yourself as far as clearly the gospel is the answer.
Tommy Robinson?
Yeah.
Yeah. May I say? Oh, sorry.
But politically, you know, how do you engage? How do you do the things that actually you want to as a concerned citizen?
Yeah.
Without getting dragged into something that is, I would suggest, has undertones very different from the ones that are presented.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I will be more radical. What I will say, it's not that easy to digest. But I would say that probably my short answer is your first question is that we should take upon the shame on our shoulder to be called right-wing extremists. We cannot tell the truth just if we take upon this shame that we will be labeled like right-wing extremists. What I see that 13 years ago, by the support of this church, I could finish the Oxford Center for Christian Apologetics program to learn how to argue for the gospel, talking about the main issues of the society. And I got the best teachers from John Lennox, Os Guinness, Alistair McGrath, others. They taught me how to engage the culture and talk about those things. And by the time of 2019, we understood that if I continue to talk about these things, about marriage, about womanhood, about migration, about the way of culture, how it operates, about just the worldview concept, that there are different worldviews, we will be labeled fascist or right-wing extremists. And as a cultural engagement church, our answer was to to be silent. We became a silent church. We try not to talk about these topics. We try to withdraw ourselves to talk about it. And now, 7 years later, someone died, and he was right. He was talking about it. He bared the label, and he turned the heart of many, many young people. And the reason that it woke up me, it opened my eyes up, that I could see the difference between my strategy, where I didn't want to hurt people, and his strategy, that he didn't care about what other people said about him. He said that this is what I believe, and he taught and he said the same argument that I was taught by the professors at Oxford. He didn't have right-wing arguments. He had pure Christian arguments on these subjects, Charlie Kirk. And many people became furious. He was labeled, but on the other side, many people who were absolutely unstable in his worldview or her worldview, they changed. They understood that there is here something. So anybody who said that you are a right-wing extremist, he said, no, I'm here about Christ and the common sense. I'm talking about this because this is it. And people understood, and very few people, but probably a very loud minority, they continue to label him. And I think that this is a shame. We are very afraid of being labeled as right-wing extremists.
Let's agree with that for a moment.
Yes.
That it's highly likely we would be labeled as right-wing extremists for a number of fundamental Christian views about exclusivity of Christ, about moral behavior. Yes, agree that. How do you, I think what Ian's talking about, which is hard to navigate or work out how to navigate, is if you're associated with people who do things that are antithetical, against the Christian faith, yes, who would be perhaps more correctly labeled right-wing in that they are nationalistic to the point of demeaning, even wanting to commit violence against people who think differently, which I think is the definition of extreme right-wing. Yeah. The dilemma I think Ian's talking about is you get kind of conflated with those guys, and that's...
Yes, but it's a lie. It's a lie because you are not marching, or when you're marching, you are not saying that death to the gypsies, death to the Muslims. It's a lie because you don't think that for you being a woman is something that doesn't mean for you to quench a woman or being a very bad husband or just being that type of man, yeah, which is, that kind of very masculine and very anti-woman, let's say Andrew Tate man. You don't want to be that. But you will be confused. You will be labeled like that.
Okay.
They don't care. They don't care. They won't make the distinction, and you can repeat it again and again, and they won't make a change in their mind. They will say that you are the same person like Robinson, you are the same person like that. And you can see even with Charlie Kirk. And probably there were many people of you who were very afraid of saying anything about Charlie Kirk, not to be labeled as Trumpists. And it's very interesting to check upon him, that how he talked about his faith and being part of the Trump movement. And nobody really take the effort to see that what he really meant about it. So what I want to say, that it's just like, if we are afraid of being labeled as a right-wing extremist in this world, we won't talk about the gospel. Because it's almost impossible. It's not our fault that they use these things. They love these doctrines, which is so important and precious for us.
That is a fantastic answer, thank you.
Excuse me.
I love a bit of passion, don't say excuse me. No, it's really good, don't even be sorry. It's English you say sorry, you don't have to say sorry. Aaron, I stopped you just now. What did you want to say?
I really want to jump to that conversation, but it's not a debate, it's a Q&A.
Okay.
But I do have a question.
Have a question, yeah.
It's like, I wanted to ask my question, and then we started talking about, oh man, now I want to jump in. No, it's not a debate. I got my question again.
Go for the question.
Okay, so we keep talking about being countercultural and such, and being sort of against the main culture. But doesn't this sort of create a sense of us versus them, sort of we're the oppressed and they're the oppressors, almost sort of like postmodernism, and in cultural Marxism we have like the bourgeois gain from calling ourselves the counterculture? Wouldn't we actually gain from saying we're so oppressed? I mean, Christians are actively oppressed. We don't gain anything from doing the same thing that cultural Marxists claim, from what the progressives claim. Shouldn't we just sit there and claim the truth, which will naturally bring people in, because people will always be brought to things that produce their flourishing.
Did you get that question fully? Yeah. I don't know why I'm standing there. It's just I can see people. I like to see people when they're talking. And I'm half deaf as well, so it helps. Just in case. And I've got the mic.
That's a brilliant question. And, sorry.
The question was, what's the point of being countercultural just for its own sake? Does it have a value, or are you just being the same as everyone else, claiming I'm a victim and sort of being heroic, but not for any good purpose? Shouldn't you just be truthful and speak the gospel? Thank you. Thank you for being charitable about my summary.
It's brilliant because I think we need to go below the level in our discourse and in our understanding of our roles. We must understand the roots of the problems. And if we just work in the framework created for us, we will repeat the same mistakes. So that's why I think it's a brilliant question. And we should not make that mistake. So we should be Christians. We should be Christians. And as Christians, followers of Christ, who believe and confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, that's our starting point. That's our marching order. That's what should be our motivation in engaging in culture. Because we believe all authority is given to me under heaven, Jesus said, on earth as well. So he is the Lord. And that was the early Christians' motive in engaging culture war. They were in culture war. They named the demons, they named the gods of the culture, and they crucified them for doing that. So they were not ashamed of the gospel. They were not ashamed of claiming Jesus above other gods and naming those gods. So our loyalty goes to the Lord Jesus. That's number one. Secondly, we should be aware of even being afraid of the us-them distinction, because I think that's a postmodern thing. No categories, no camps, dismantling of distinctions. No, we emphasize distinctions. So we say, we are Christians, you are not Christians. There's a distinction there. You get baptized. Baptism divides us from you. So in that sense, there is an us-them. But Paul says, our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritualities and powers in heaven, in the heavenly realms. So we dismantle the heights, we attack the heights that are spiritual heights. We are not attacking people. And back to Charlie Kirk, that's exactly what he did. He went there, prayed, people prayed for him. He brought arguments, loved the people, engaged with people, even those who he knew hated him, engaged with them, offered arguments, tried arguments. He recognized the spirit behind it. And he wanted to win the battle at the spiritual realm, not using physical violence. That was used against him. And so I think we need to be very clear about our loyalty, our goals, and the nature of our weapons. And when those three are at their place, we don't lose the moral high ground. We can be called anything. Early Christians were called cannibals, murderers, haters of people, promiscuous. People misunderstood their motives or deliberately labeled them all kinds of things.
Called atheists.
Called atheists, yeah. So I agree with David. I don't think we should care I think we should be ready to put on the shame and love them enough that we would go close, preach Christ, fight against the principalities and powers, the spirit behind them, and just not be afraid. They conquered, Revelation 12:9 says, they conquered Satan with their testimony, and that they did not spare their lives. So.
Very good. Matt, just before Matt, did you have a
Just very
tongue out? Then we will come to you, Matt.
for you that we have to talk about the sphere of the countercultures. So it's not that
The sphere.
the sphere. Thank you very much. I really need you here. So the sphere of counterculture is not just about apologetics when we have kind of this clash of worldviews, but it's the family. We love our wives. The wives love their husbands. The way how we raise up children. The church life. These are the sphere of counterculture. It means that, for example, very practically, when we were at church, we were in a basement, and we tried to really look like any other club in Budapest. We wanted to be culturally engaged, so anybody who enters to the church will feel that, oh, I am home. This is not really a churchy, religious thing. Now, 15 years later, counterculture for me means that now I can be more churchy. They don't search for something very similar. They search for something different. So we'll have more liturgy. We try to have more speak and answer type of part of the church liturgy, because we were more brave now in the last couple of years to be different and enjoying that we have our own culture and our own life. And I don't want to say that it's all about apologetics. It's about things that we really love, to be together and have a very special community. These are the counterculture sphere.
Excellent. Sorry, Aaron, Matt had a question.
Yeah, so I think that what you guys have talked about is the fact that sometimes things are presented in the wrong way and we don't see them right. And I wanted to ask if you had any advice for how this church will look around the story that's presented by mainstream media, if you want to call it that, or their favourite newspaper, or very often the BBC. And I give an example of why you might not have been received as well as you thought you might, talking about Charlie Kirk. I didn't really know him, I'd only seen a couple of debates online. But when the BBC showed his death, they actually showed a clip, the same day I think, saying that of course he was pro-gun crime. Actually he talked about gun crime just being fine. And they showed an excerpt of him talking in a debate where he said, effectively, gun crime is a very sad outcome of the freedoms from the Fourth Amendment. But because we want freedom, I'm afraid it's an inevitable sad consequence that you will get the occasional gun violence. That was the quote they showed, but the BBC presenter said, so it was just basically, look how pro-gun crime, and then he's killed by it. Almost like that. And that is what this audience got as our first introduction to Charlie Kirk. And then the next clip they show is him throwing Make America Great Again hats out, big red ones. That's it. So as Christians, we might be thinking, Charlie Kirk, wasn't he that nutter who loves Trump and loved gun crime and then got shot? That would be the cultural setup for you introducing him tonight to some, or this morning to some people. How do we avoid that bias, maybe by Satan or deliberately or however it is, that spirit, influencing our view of the world so that we have that simplistic, oh, he was a right-wing nutter. Maybe he was, but he was definitely a Christian from what I've seen since and from other stuff. And you guys clearly respect that. How do we avoid being pulled by culture so far towards their view without balancing up? Where do we go to find out more? And how do we help each other with that?
That's a great question. I have no clue what Mark just came in to say, by the way. Was it along the lines of, we would need to wait a while, or was it 5-ish minutes?
Oh, wow.
Thank you for the food. That's 5-ish minutes till we need to end. Brilliant.
When Charlie Kirk was killed, I wrote an article, and then 2 more days later, and I kept receiving messages. First, I thought how lame because it contained two claims about Charlie Kirk. One was about the gun issue. The other was about empathy, that he made a remark about empathy, that it's a New Age concept. And then those two quotes came again and again and again and again. So I thought, okay, there was a newspaper that found these quotes somewhere and it was taken over by everyone. And then I looked up the originals, and it was clear that they were taken out of context, not trying to understand what he was saying, not even giving a chance that he might say something coherent, let alone true. So I thought, okay, so I know this. And what I have given up on, this, I don't know how it will come across, but I have given up on BBC a long time ago. BBC used to be a standard even for us. I've seen BBC making outlandish claims about my country. I mean, stupid lies. Like, you could check it very quickly.
They would definitely call your prime minister far right.
Yeah, and I'm not defending him, just factually incorrect things, including CNN as well. CNN made an interview with, I think it was with our foreign minister, and she asked the question, the host, so your, not even asked the question, just made a statement that your government stopped the parliament is not functioning, shut down the parliament, which was an outlandish claim. And so our foreign minister said, our parliament has been in session and is in session right now. Where do you get that claim from? And there is an entire network of media outlets, newspapers, university networks connected. When our government made a step, just applied the law against George Soros's university in Budapest. The next day, I received an email from someone I knew in one of the American universities and asked my opinion on it. So it's like a nerve system. It quickly got around. So I distrust
That's a statement
the
of the
traditional. Yeah.
Help us think about.
Yeah.
You just go to social media memes and.
So I think I would look for alternative media sources, check them. Compare them. Major discrepancies. When I see that, I want to look into the story. So what's behind it? Where can I find more information on it? And I would just generally not trust the Western traditional heritage media. They have been, many of them, occupied by progressive Marxists, or just
Do you think it's an organized conspiracy, or do you think it's just a meeting of
organic? I would say.
Just let me finish the question.
Sorry.
Or do you think it's like organized, like they're all kind of all joined up and they all figured out, we need to distort the truth? Or it's just because they're all kind of in league with Satan in the sense of a satanic anti-Christian agenda, so it just happens they tend to align?
Yeah. So I think many layers. So obviously the lowest layer is Satan and his spiritual forces. But then there are cultural trends. I think what Carl Trueman defines as expressive individualism, defining the culture, and lots of layers of that as well, beginning with Rousseau and Nietzsche and Freud and others, just defining the sentiment of the culture. It makes you susceptible to accepting certain ideas, certain claims. So a lot of it is unconscious. A lot of it is just organically moving, influencing each other, creating a social plausibility structure that makes things look more sensible to people than other things. And I think the plausibility structure that has been created throughout the last 2 centuries, basically, has become very antagonistic to any kind of Christian mindset. And on top of that, I think there is a deliberate attempt to shape the culture by convinced Marxists. And when I say Marxists, I mean I use that word in a vague sense, but by people who were bred by the old Marxists, the Frankfurt School Marxists, those who believe that you can create utopia, you can create an equal society, a society where the outcome is equal, and the way to achieve that is culture. And that's Antonio Gramsci's changing the Marxist story, which has had a huge impact on Western universities, intellectuals. And I think we see the fruit of that, all of those together. I don't want to simplify it. It's usually not one or two reasons. There are many, many reasons, but there is a spirit behind it.
Yeah. Don't be despairing, though, everybody.
No,
there is common grace, which means there are still moments of light.
Yes.
Where we do see the truth portrayed.
So first, I have encouragement. The encouragement is that probably we are not aware of this because we are old people like you and me. With the beard, I can see. But young people don't care. Don't care about these things. They don't watch CNN or BBC. The young people don't care about these news. So many people turned away from them that it's ridiculous how unpopular they are. And those people are getting their views from different other channels. And we Christians have to understand that we don't have to care about the CNN and the BBC. We have to care about Joe Rogan. And we have to enter to the Joe Rogan's universum, not avoiding it, but entering as Christians into this realm where the young people are getting their ideas. And actually, Charlie Kirk did. He entered to this place. The second thing is that probably, just answering your question, we need to engage to the people and argue. We have to talk to them. And what really can change a mind, especially a young child, or a young mind, if they can explore themselves that somebody is lying. So now this is a great opportunity because sometimes the news are so far away from the reality that we don't have to say that that's not true. We have to just say that, look it up, go after it, check it or check up on it. And that's what Charlie Kirk did. Okay, go home and Google it. Check, read this book, and read this book, and read this book, and you can see that this is a lie. And people were convinced because they could see the difference. So probably we don't have better ways than what Jesus taught us to engage people and talk to them, asking questions and argue for our truth. It's and one by one.
Yeah, and we're
Sorry, specifically though, I think our church needs to do that first. You know, revival starts with the church.
Yes.
Not just people turning up at the church, realizing that they've been getting it wrong and they need to come back to God. I think in our culture, I think a lot of people in our church, including me, don't do that fact checking, don't kind of use other media streams and don't look around, don't really know the websites to go to. My non-Christian friends are better at it. They're much more skeptical and they make much more effort because they don't worry about reading the Bible, they worry about going down a YouTube rabbit hole.
Did you want to say something?
Do you think our church needs training? Do you think the church needs to deliver training in how to be more youth in that? Be more non-Christian in the way they...
There is that, and not to be scared, because for most of the history of the world, people haven't had an organized national media that told them what they should think. You know, this is quite unusual that we've lived through that, and we're feeling all kind of scary because there's, you know, TikTok and everything else, and that's where people are getting their truth. People for centuries got their truth from crowds that they were mingling with, and there wasn't any great arbiters, and the gospel worked then, so we don't need to worry. Be really quick, because the guys who cook the beef burgers are going to be getting really cross with me.
Two things. Tomorrow's message will be a sure hope despite apparent failure. So if I sounded hopeless, I'm not. I'm not hopeless at all. Second, the church. I had a Swiss guy approach me and said he was coming to Budapest. Would I meet with him? And I said yes. So we sat down, we had coffee together, and I found out the reason he came was to listen to Jordan Peterson, who visited Budapest, and he wanted to listen to him. And then he said, very briefly, that he got disappointed in the church because in Switzerland, he sees the same thing, cultural Marxism destroying their centuries-old, stable culture. And he said, Christians are going along because they are naive, they want to believe the good, they don't recognize the danger. And here's a secular guy who has to speak because the church is silent. On the other hand, I think when the church speaks clearly on these issues, the church, on the other hand, must not be, so we must not lose our primary focus, which is the gospel. And there are consequences of the gospel, but it's if we lose the major focus and talk too much of those other issues, that can result in a loss of focus for the church. And so it's a fine line. I think we have to be very wise how we address these issues. But I agree that there must be places where we can talk and discuss what is going on in our countries and cultures.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. You've been so helpful and provocative, but in a good way, I think. So we've really appreciated that. Could you pray for us and give thanks for the food we're about to eat?
Yes, I will do it in Hungarian. So, okay. Mennyei Atyám, köszönöm neked ezt a napot, köszönöm, hogy együtt lehetek a testvéreimmel itt Angliában. Köszönöm azt, Uram, hogy ilyen mély és fontos kérdéseik vannak. Kérlek, segíts meg őket ebben a növekedésben, és most köszönjük neked az ételt, amit tőled kaptunk. Te nevedben, Amen.
Amen, you really did.
You could not correct me.